Last month I didn't do one of these. I said I would try doing one of these every month, but there's actually a reason why I didn't do it last month. It's not because I was like lazy or blew it off or whatever, because I should be doing these regardless of my mood. That's kind of the point. It's like I'm doing this to kind of talk about what I've been doing, what I have been doing, or what I want to be doing, or whatever, basically. The reason why I didn't do it last month is because, once again, I was really down. I was just really upset about things. I don't even know entirely what about. I think I was just um, sad that nothing was really changing. Nothing was really going right for me. Even though, in some ways, I I I think I tried making a bit of a drastic change because I think in February that's when I started doing my social media lockout or whatever you want to call it. I started doing that. Yeah, I shut down my not like all my social media, but basically the places where I go for social communication. I just kind of shut them out. But it didn't really do anything. I did it one time for like a week or two, and then I came back just because a new Pokemon game got announced. Um, and nothing had really changed from that first part, but also I didn't give myself enough of silence, I guess, because it's like I still had my private Twitter, and like I left the podcast Discord server, but I was still on Discord, so I still had ways of getting around socially. So it didn't really feel like much of a social break, honestly. So the next time, when I re-deactivated in March, that was when I was like, okay, this is going to be like a real social media lockout. Like I'm actually going to shut all of it off this time. And I don't think it really did anything. Like it didn't. I was thinking it might give me a new perspective on, I don't know, the world around me, maybe, and also maybe help me focus on what I want to do. It didn't really do anything. Nothing at all changed. So that was kind of a waste of time, I think. I mean, it's not like it was bad that I did it, I guess, necessarily. But I think I said I was doing this because I wanted I was spending a lot of dead time on social media and I was trying to rid myself of that. But what ended up happening is I just found other things to do in with dead time. Not no, like rather the dead time became just like me browsing various subreddits, just like looking for something to just waste time with. Basically, it didn't fix any sort of issue, so nothing really changed, and and in a way I was almost eager to come back because it's like I didn't want to come back after a few days after saying that I would be gone twice, because it's like once you deactivate, or at least once you say you're gonna like take a break from social media or something, you can't just blow that off. You can't just blow that off or come back after 2 days and be like, oh, never mind, guys. It's like, no, you got everyone excited for you to leave. You can't just go back on that shit. That's not how this works. So, um so yeah, I had to wait a little while, and then what happened? Something happened that made me come back. I was going to come back in the middle of March, but then something happened. Something got announced. I don't remember what it was. Um oh, the Royal signed Zach Greinke. That's why I came back. Lol. That doesn't have to do with anything. Um, but also at the end of the month, I was talking about at the end of February, what was happening in February. I don't remember anything that happened in February, so whatever. But I didn't do this sort of video because I was really upset about various things, and it was just going to be me going on a rant on how unfair everything in my life has been, because at the end of February, I don't remember the exact time frame of this, but um, baseball was still in its lockout, and I think it had gotten to the point where they were canceling games because of it. Like it was starting to bleed into the regular season, and I was a big doomer about it because it's like I had these thoughts that like I'm not going to be able to have this hobby this year, and it's going to do permanent irreparable damage to it. So it's like this whole hobby is just dying right in front of me, you know. And that made me really upset. And having that doomer mentality is not good, but at the same time, I would just continue ranting about how I have no reason to be optimistic because nothing has ever gone right for me. And I mean, just in regards to this baseball thing, people would be doomers and say like, "Oh yeah, right, the whole season's going to get canceled. We're not going to have baseball in 2022." But then other people would be like, "Oh, come on, stop being a doomer. It's fine. It'll be okay. They'll figure it out. We're going to have the regular season. It'll start on time. They'll figure it out before spring training, yada yada yada." And then that didn't happen. Those optimists, those people who said we were all silly for being negative, well, suddenly we were right and they were wrong for a brief period. Fortunately, it didn't get worse than it did. I would say we got the best case scenario of the worst case scenario. So, um, at least I have that. But it was really bothering me because like there are lots of reasons why I'm into baseball. Part of them is because I wanted to have um, a hobby that doesn't involve being on the internet. Like if I were to go outside and talk to someone, I could have something to talk about that doesn't involve me being some kind of internet weirdo who's watching these strange Japanese cartoons. It's not that I'm ashamed of being an anime fan, but it can be hard to convince other people sometimes, right? Some people will think you're weird just for engaging with it. So I needed something else to fill my time, something that a real person could at least, even if they don't understand it, they could be like, okay, well, you're into sports, it's like that's easy enough for people to understand. That's a big reason why I was doing that. And also, there's something I'm going to be doing. Maybe I'll just say it. It's not like it needs to be a big secret. But I've been planning on starting a baseball podcast about the Royals, which is something that I've wanted to do for years, literally years. Like ever since I started watching regular season baseball, it's like this is what I've envisioned myself doing, just talking about it, because it's like I already talk about anime with the podcast and this channel and things like that. So why shouldn't I do that for baseball? And I've envisioned myself doing it every single year. After every single game, I'm like, oh, here's what I would say on my podcast. And I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But this year, this month, April 2022, I'm going to start doing that. And that's like a given. It's like I've already made preparations to start doing this. And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, even if no one gives a shit, that's fine, because at least I did something that I said that I would do. At least I did something that I've wanted to do. Like I fulfilled some sort of goal of mine. Maybe it won't work. Maybe not. Maybe, I mean, I'm not, when I say it won't work, I'm talking about like maybe no one will listen. Maybe no one will care. Like, I would really like to think this could end up being some kind of career or something, or at least lead to a career of like working within the sport as like a journalist or an insider or whatever. Who knows? I mean, that's obviously an extreme long shot because it's not like there's any shortage of people just starting up podcasts with like no prior experience or connections or anything. And I mean, I do have some. I'm within the community, so it's not like I'm a complete unknown. I'm not like just showing up to a random forum and be like, "Hey guys, I did a podcast." I moderate the Royals subreddit, so I at least have some cred within the fan base. I feel like I could at least get. I feel like I might have at least a small listener base. Maybe some people that follow me for my anime stuff will be kind of interested because I've actually there's some people on the subreddit who actually follow me on Twitter. I have no idea who they are on Twitter, but they said they follow me on Twitter. And I'm like, what? How do you even know what my Twitter is? I don't plug my Twitter at all. That's fine. But anyway, back at the end of February, I keep coming back to this. I haven't really fully explained why I never did one last month. I was really upset about the baseball stuff, and nothing was really changing. But I at least knew that in March, things would get better, or at least change a little bit, because I had 2 concerts booked in March. So if absolutely nothing else happened or were to happen, I at least had these slightly interesting events that I was going to be doing, these slightly interesting things that I would be doing that I was looking forward to. It would be something just a little bit different for me. So I didn't want to do one of these vids or talks where I'm just constantly whining about how much everything sucks when I knew that there was something happening within the month. So that's why I didn't do one last month. I just felt like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and do these things, go to these concerts, and just go out and live life a little bit for real. And then I'll come back and talk about how it all went. And let me tell you, going to those concerts was extremely fulfilling. It's actually weird right now. I'm recording this on a Friday. It's strange that I don't have a concert to look forward to tonight because the last 2 Fridays were both concerts. At the same venue, no less. This very small, I mean, like 1,000 capacity maybe venue in downtown KC, which was going to these things was actually like really nerve wracking. I was really anxious about them for a couple of reasons. Because one, my car just sucks. I mean, I like driving at all makes me anxious because I'm always thinking the car is just going to break apart. Like right now, the suspension is messed up, so it's creaking all the time, and I'm just thinking one of these days it's just gonna like snap. I don't know what's gonna happen when it snaps. I'm just envisioning like I don't know the tires pop off and I just spin out or something. And, I kind of think even if that were to happen, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I could be able to deal with that. But this is what anxiety does to you. Anxiety isn't just like overreacting to things, it's like rationalizing in your head how it can work out and just having solutions and still worrying. It's like you don't even understand why you're so upset, why you're so worried. Like I will think about it constantly in my head. I will try thinking about everything, every possible thing that could go wrong and then how to fix it. And I'm like, yeah, this can all work out. Like literal worst case scenario, I can get help. It's not going to be the end of the world if something bad happens to me. And yet I still worry about it. I worry. I lose sleep over it. I kind of joked about it, I think, back when I was going to the Poppy concert. Either that or the Seven Dust concert, or maybe both of them. Who the fuck knows? I was trying to get some sleep before I went to those shows just so I'd be a little more well rested. because I usually sleep during the day, but these concerts were during the day, and I couldn't sleep before the concerts because I was like so anxious about having to drive downtown, even though I was, thinking that it would be okay and all that, and I'm like, but that's just what anxiety does to you. That's what it feels like. It's just worrying about things that don't exist, that aren't even problems, but again, I literally can't understand why I would be worried, why I would be upset. I would just be upset about things, and that really sucks. I mean, for some reason it was worse when I went to the Seven Dust concert. When I was going to it, I didn't like, at least when I went to the Poppy concert. That was the first one. That was on the 15th or so. 18th. My apologies. Not that it matters, but it's like when I got to downtown, I kind of like when I stopped driving, I was able to like relax and be like, all right, I'm at least here. I wasn't at the venue. The other thing that kind of made me anxious is that I don't know how to get around downtown. Like, I've never been through downtown KC. I haven't been there in a decade. I used to live in a pretty urban area of the city. I used to live by these fairly busy districts of the town. That would be on the Missouri side. The Missouri side is where like actual Kansas City is, just for little geography lessons. There are two Kansas cities. There's the Kansas side and then there's the Missouri side. The Missouri side is larger and has the cool stuff. But Kansas is where everyone actually lives. But in the time in high school when I lived on the Missouri side, I lived in these really busy districts that would be like, I basically lived next to or very close to Uptown, which obviously is borders on downtown. So I was pretty close. I was pretty close to the city. So it wasn't uncommon for me to be down there a little bit because I had a family friend who has like a gang of friends who just ride mopeds around. They'll just like swarm the streets with mopeds and just have like their own parade for no reason. Not like a celebratory parade. They'll just drive down in a bunch of mopeds all at once, and it's like, all right. Anyway, so I'd go with him sometimes. He would give me like a spare moped. He just had one. And I'd just ride it with him, and we'd just go through downtown and all that. But I haven't. But that was the last time I've been there. Like, I haven't been downtown in 10 years, and it's changed a lot. It's actually developed kind of rapidly over the last decade. So I had like no idea what I was getting into when I was going downtown. That's kind of what made me worry. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, how do I get around and things like that? So I parked in a parking lot that was almost, I think, like 2 miles from the venue or something. I had to walk like 20 or 30 minutes, just an extremely fucking long time. Um, all just to get to the venue before it even opened. It's like I had no idea how to get around. For the Seven Dust show 1 week later, I parked a little bit closer, but nowadays I kind of understand how it works, and I now I kind of figure out how I can park at or at least very close to the venue, so I won't have this same fucking issue. But it's not a huge deal or anything. But anyway, I kind of mentioned earlier, just going around downtown for like the first time made me a little anxious. But for the Poppy concert, it was fine. It's like once I stopped driving, it's like, all right, I'm fine. Like, at least I'm downtown. I just need to figure out where I'm going, and that's easy. And then just boom, then I'm there. And then I had a great time. It was wonderful. Um, but then the next week, the next time I went, it's like even when I got downtown, I still worried. I don't even know why. I'm just like, what is the fucking problem? Like, Like I'm in the city. I'm going to the venue right now. Like what is the fucking issue? Why am I still nervous about something? I don't understand. Um and then finally it's like once I got into the venue, things were okay, I guess. So then I went to the show and I had a fucking great time there. But the reason why this is so important and why I'm talking about it so much and why it was this big thing that I had to look forward to is because I just don't do anything. Like I don't go out. Like I never go out. Maybe sometimes I'll go out. Like last year I went to a couple baseball games with my dad. That's usually my extent of going out. I mean, it certainly hasn't helped with the pandemic and all that. Because I used to go to baseball games by myself, at least every now and then. I went to a few just by myself in 2019. Um, but at this point, that was like 3 years ago. So uh, those opportunities of going out just haven't really presented themselves, I guess. And even then, it's like going to a baseball game, like it's going out and all that, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I don't even know what I'm trying to say with this. I don't know where I was going with this. I guess it's like I'm going out, but I'm not really doing anything all that like unique or anything. It's just like I'm just going out, going somewhere. It'd be like, I don't know, you just stop somewhere for lunch. It'd be like that kind of importance or something. Does that make sense? It's not like you're gonna talk about it all that much unless something really interesting happens. But yeah, it's just like you know, even if it's going out by definition, it's not like going out in this really interesting sort of a day defining way. I guess I don't know if that makes sense. Probably not, because nothing I say makes any sense. Well, I'm just saying I don't go out. Like I stay in my room until I have to go to work. That's basically it. So me actually going out and doing something on my own and like in the city, that was really interesting for me. It was really interesting in me, and it felt like I was kind of stepping out of my boundaries, I guess. So that's why it was important. And it's made me really want to continue doing that because going to these shows, it's been a very fulfilling experience. I really, really enjoyed going to them. I can talk about them a lot. I could talk about these shows a lot. The Poppy show, I don't actually have a whole lot to say. It was a good show. It was fine, and I liked it. But then the Seven Dust show the next week kind of like blew it out of the water. Partially because I saw one of my favorite bands right now. This band called Dead Poet Society. That I've talked about maybe a little bit on Twitter because I said that their album last year was my album of the year. And so, like, this is the reason why I went to this show because they were opening for two other bands. Actually, it was a 3 band show. But these guys, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't care who they're opening for. I will go for these guys specifically. And I met the drummer afterwards because he was running the merch table, so I got a shirt from him. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for you guys. Like, I want you to know that. Like Tetrarch and Seven Dust, good bands, but I was here for you. So, and God, they are so fucking good live too. Like their music is great, but they sound even better live. Like they put on such an amazing show. I know it's real cliche when you get into, some lesser known artists and you're like, oh man, this should be more popular. Like if you see a YouTube video that's really well made, but it has like 2,000 views and you're like, wow, this person deserves more subscribers. It's like, that's how I felt that's how I feel about this band with that album, that show. I'm just like, how the fuck are these guys not headlining their own tour? They're amazing. They're absolutely fantastic. They're as good, if not better, than anyone else right now. Yeah, that was great. And then the second band was Tetrarch, which is this pretty young metal band. They've only been around a few years, but they're kind of like rising stars within the scene. And Jesus fucking Christ, do they do they whip you into the shape? If you want to test your physical limitations, go to a Tetrarch show and then stand in the front center, because that's what I did, and it was extremely intense and also a lot of fun. I could have made it more intense if I wanted to get into like mosh pits or something like that. I've never moshed before, which might be kind of weird because it's like that seems like the sort of thing I would do, but I don't know. I'm the guy who stands on the outer ring, you know. I'm the guy who's like I'm not in it. I'm not in the pit, but I'm helping people get in and get out. You know, helping them, bouncing people off of me and helping them up when they fall down. You know, that's what I like doing. I like being in the crowd control kind of a group because it's kind of what I was raised with. Back in high school, back in my downtown days, I would go to this festival. We used to have Casey used to have this outdoor festival called Rockfest, and I would go to it. I went to it for like 3 years in a row between like 2011 and 2013 or so, or maybe just 2012 or 2013. Anyway, but the company I would go with, the group I would go with, we had this family friend who's like 6'5" or something, just this fucking behemoth of a person. So he would be the guy in the crowd that's like, he's the crowd control guy. People need to get somewhere, get in, get out, things like that. He was the guy that helped direct traffic. Because it's a busy crowd of lots of moving people. There needs to be a little bit of order, and he was the guy to do that. So I guess I look up to that. I like being the guy that's just helping people in the crowd as opposed to just getting in and going crazy. But that doesn't mean it's not a very exhausting and physically demanding situation to be in, because it was a lot. Um, there's this guy at work, the Frito Lay guy, the guy who works for Frito Lay, who comes in and stocks that product. Uh, I've talked to him a couple times because I have a Rise Against hoodie that I wear all the time because it's like my junk hoodie. It's this old hoodie. I have a second hoodie, so it's fine. But this hoodie it's 11. Oh my god! I just realized this hoodie is 11 years old at this point. It's been through hell and back. It was through all my high school years, and it's just been beat up. It's got a bunch of holes in it. It's not all that warm. It's beat up. It's old. So I wear it to work because it's like if something happens to it at work, then fine. It's not going to be a big deal. Anyway, so this guy, the Frito Lay guy, noticed that, and he's talked to me a couple of times. And the first time he talked to me, he was talking about like going to concerts but like being too old to keep up with them and all that. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, that probably sucks. And after I went to that second concert, I had to go up to the guy. I'm like, you were totally right about that. Like, holy shit, I'm already on my way out because that was a that put me that made me a little exhausted. That tired me out a little bit. Doesn't help that I don't have the best physical health, but that's fine. And then so yeah, Tetrarch is a fucking loud, intense show that draws a very loud, intense crowd. That shit was nuts. That was actually fucking nuts, dude. Um, one of the reasons why they're why they're these big rising stars is because their guitarist is this big black chick, which is really cool. So that's like it's almost unprecedented for a band to be this big and have like a black female guitarist, as their lead guitarist. So this this girl Diamond Rowe is her name. She's like becoming a superstar in the metal scene. Like they had merch of her specifically at their table, so they really hype her up as an icon. And I had an opportunity to catch one of her picks because guitarists, they throw their picks into the crowd. I fucking had one on my hand and it bounced off because I didn't realize that she threw it at me. So it slapped off my hand and onto the ground, and I couldn't get it. And I'm like, are you, because I didn't realize something was getting thrown at me, so I wasn't prepared to catch it. I didn't have the reaction, the reflex to catch it, so I lost it. And I was fucking pissed. I'm like, I fucking bullshit, dude. However, I did get a Sevendust pick, so I was redeemed a little bit later. But that's not as cool. I actually had no idea who Sevendust was, like, going into the show. I tried listening to a little bit of their stuff. They're basically Disturbed. Like, they sound exactly like Disturbed, but less shit. Disturbed fucking sucks. But these guys, I think, were a little bit better. And I, in a way, regret not knowing who these guys were because they put on a fantastic show. They put on an absolutely wonderful show. And I can safely say, because I've tried going back to listen to their stuff, because they specifically did, this tour was to celebrate the 20th, now the 21st because they had to delay it, anniversary of their most popular album called Animosity. So they played the entire album live. And I've listened to this album since that concert, and I can safely say, I still can't really get into this album, but I remember like the clips that I have of them live. I'm like, this is so much better. Like, they sound so much better live. That's awesome. So if they ever come back, which they definitely will, and I'll say why in a minute. They definitely will come back, and I will go see them again because they were a lot of fun. I sort of regret not being into the show as much as I expected to be, or as much as I should have been, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, they had a great show, great energy, and it's kind of funny how, I'm into this concert. I'm at this concert. I know the two opening bands, but I don't know the main headlining act. Meanwhile, like, everyone in the crowd is here for the headliner specifically. Everyone's rocking Sevendust shirts. Maybe a couple people have Tetrarch shirts. I was like the one out of three people in the entire venue who seemed to have any idea who Dead Poet Society were. That's fine. They made a really good impression though. Like the crowd really got into them by the end. So, and I was hearing people around me be like, "Oh, like who were those guys? They were so good." When their set ended. Anyway, what was I saying? Sevendust. Yeah, they put on a really great show. It's just what I'm saying. Really passionate audience as well. And this singer would talk between songs a lot, kind of give context to the songs and all that. So seems like a really cool guy. Turns out this guy lives in Kansas City. In fact, not only that, he lives in Overland Park. This guy's like my fucking neighbor. Like, and I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. So that's why they're going to come back at some point, and I definitely will see them again at some point. But yeah, that was a funny little thing, which turned out to have a bit more context because this show, this was the night that Taylor Hawkins died, the drummer of Foo Fighters, and that guy LJ, he actually announced it to us in between songs. He's like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but I just got this message from my wife, and apparently Taylor Hawkins died." And we're all just like, "What the fuck?" So at some point later, he brightened the mood a little bit. He's like, "Yeah, sorry, I had to break that. Sorry, I had to give you that terrible news earlier." So he brought out his kids onto the stage. Yeah, he had his kids, and they had a couple of friends with them as well. And they had like everything going off on the stage. They had this really sick light show that they had going on behind them, and they have a on the stage they got these smoke plumes coming out every now and then. So they just had like the kids stand on stage, and they just had the entire stage just fucking going crazy with the lights and the smoke, and it was awesome. It was dope. It was like a really cool, uplifting sight. It was a lot of fun. It was really fun. I'm really glad I went to this. Like that's the whole thing that I wanted to express with this sort of thing, is that I did something this month, and I'm really glad that I did it. And I wish I could do it more, but I can't do it more because it turns out Kansas City is an extremely inconveniently placed spot in America. You would think that being in the exact middle of the country would be perfect. No, it's not fucking perfect. It's actually the worst spot because every single tour just completely avoids us. Like you either come from the west, you go into Denver, and from there everyone either goes north through Nebraska and Iowa up to either Minnesota or Illinois for Chicago, or you go south and go to like Phoenix, Arizona, and then go into Texas. Or you come from the east where you go into St. Louis, and then once again you either go down into Texas or up into Chicago. So it's like every single tour just goes directly around this city. So there are lots of great tours going on right now, but they're not stopping here. So that's just fucking wonderful. So I really cherished the shows that I got to see. Um, and it would be great to go to more concerts because now I definitely have a lot more experience with what I'm getting into and how to get around and things like that. Big thing on my to-do list next time, wear earplugs. Wear earplugs, seriously. It's important. Like I've lived my entire life kind of being like, oh yeah, tonight it's no big deal or whatever. Yeah, but like at the Seven Dust show, I would like it's three bands. It was like a 3 hour show. By the end of it, like the noise, just the sheer volume of it was actually starting to be painful. Like it was actually fucking, because it's not just the music; it's also the crowd around you. It's seriously fucking loud, and that's a lot of abuse that I had to take. So that's not something I'm ever going to do ever again. But it's fine. I loved going to those shows. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So next month in April, my plan is to do this baseball thing. I'm also really going to try keeping up with seasonal anime because this season looks really fun. I tried to do something with the preseason impressions. I wanted to do something different in hopes that I would get a larger audience. So what I did is I did my usual preseason impressions, but then I did an edited version where I cut down on the dead time or the meandering points or things like that, but it still turned out to be 2 hours. I think it's a lot better than the unedited version, but still, I spent too much time doing that, and it's like no one actually cares. I knew no one was going to care once I saw it was still 2 hours, so I'm just like, yeah, this was a fucking waste of my time. So I'm probably not going to do that again. I'll probably do something different, like I'll do something different next time. But I still think there are things I can be doing to make this content better because it was a lot of fun to do this. It's a lot of fun to talk about these things and then look back at what I said and things like that or whatever. Um, I'm just looking around at some things. Um, but yeah, this season looks actually really fun. This actually looks like one of the best anime seasons in a while, and maybe ever. I don't know, or I say in a while. Last year's spring was actually super good, so never mind of that. Whatever. I'm gonna actually try I'm just gonna try getting back, like really getting back into the community, and maybe just like getting my groove back. You know, back when I was making videos on Mozilla Fennekin, like I did that at a time when I was really involved with the community. So maybe I'll do that again. Maybe that's what I've been missing. Maybe getting back onto the weekly seasonal anime grind. Even though I've always talked about how exhausting it is, I don't know. Maybe it's something that I needed. Maybe it was better when I was doing it like that. So I'm gonna try doing that again. And then I've got my baseball podcast, and I'm gonna be watching baseball. And I'm just, again, like I was super down on it when it was getting fucked up, but now it's back and it's happening, and so hopefully I'll be able to really enjoy it. So, um, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about this month. Um, Not a ton happened, but at least I got to do a couple of things that I enjoyed. So I would say hasn't been a terrible month, I guess. So, yeah, anyway, I looked at something else that was happening. We're about to upload an April Fool's podcast or whatever. Yeah, happy April Fool's Day, by the way. This is not a joke. None of this was a joke. This is all. I don't even know if I'm doing anything for April Fool's Day. I saw one of my friends was like, he changed his account to everything that's on mine, and I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know if I'm in the mood this year for April Fool's Day, but it's whatever. I'm just trying to do stuff right now. So hopefully I'll be doing stuff. All right, bye.